Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jairadha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jairadha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shabam Sabaraj Gita Sto Teta Mad. A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Shabam Sabaraj Gita Sto Teta Mad. Bhakti Siddhanta Sarada Ko Prabhupada Ki. Go Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 3, Rishabhadeva's Appearance, Text 15. So this is prose Sanskrit, so I'll just read it, and then we'll do the word for word. Yad uha bhava tava puna adabja karta iha samahutas tatarta dhyam mandhanam nastadya deva helanam deva devarhasi samyena sarvan prativodum avidusham. Yat, because. Uhavava, indeed. Tava, your. Puna, again. Adabrakarta, O Lord, who performs many activities. Iha, here, in this arena of sacrifice. Samahuta, invited. Tatra, therefore. Artadiyam, who aspire to fulfill material desires. Mandana, not very intelligent. Na, of us. Tat, that. Yat, which. Devahelanam, disrespect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Deva Deva, Lord of Lords. Arhasi, please. Samyena, because of your equipoised position. Sarvan, everything. Prativodhum, tolerate. Avidusham, of us who are all ignorant. Translation. O Lord, you perform many wonderful activities. Our only aim was to acquire a son by performing this great sacrifice. Therefore, our intelligence is not very sharp. We are not experienced in ascertaining life's goal. By inviting you to this negligible sacrifice for some material motive, we have certainly committed a great offense at your lotus feet. Therefore, O Lord of Lords, please excuse our offense because of your causeless mercy and equal mind. Purport. The priests were certainly unhappy to have called the Supreme Lord from Vaikuntha for such an insignificant reason. A pure devotee never wants to see the Lord unnecessarily. The Lord is engaged in various activities, and the pure devotee does not want to see him whimsically for his own sense gratification. The pure devotee simply depends on the Lord's mercy, and when the Lord is pleased, he can see him face to face. The Lord is unseen even by demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. By calling on the Supreme Lord, the priests of Nabi Maharaj proved themselves unintelligent. Nonetheless, the Lord came out of his causeless mercy. All of them, therefore, wanted to be excused by the Lord. Worship of the Supreme Lord for material gain is not approved by authorities. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukriti arjuna arto jigasur atarti gyani cha bharatarshava. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Initiation into bhakti begins when one is in a distressed condition or in want of money, or when one is inquisitive to understand the absolute truth. Nonetheless, people who approach the Supreme Lord in this way are not actually devotees. They are accepted as pious, sukritina, due to their inquiring about the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not knowing the various activities and engagements of the Lord, such people unnecessarily disturb the Lord for material gain. However, the Lord is so kind that even though disturbed, he fulfills the desires of such beggars. The pure devotee is anna bilasita shunya. He has no muruv, he has no motive behind his worship. He is not conducted by the influence of Maya in the form of karma or jnana. The pure devotee is always prepared to execute the order of the Lord without personal consideration. The Ritvija, the priests at the sacrifice, knew very well the distinction between karma and bhakti. And because they considered themselves under the influence of karma, fruitive activity, they begged the Lord's pardon. They knew that the Lord had been invited to come for some paltry reason. Translation again. O my Lord, you perform many wonderful activities. Our only aim was to acquire a son by performing this great sacrifice. Therefore, our intelligence is not very sharp. We are not experienced in ascertaining life's goal. By inviting you to this negligible sacrifice for some material motive, we have certainly committed a great offense at your lotus feet. Therefore, O Lord of Lords, please excuse our offense because of your causeless mercy and equal mind. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maharaj Nabi wanted a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada points out in the purports that this is still a material desire, the desire to have a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, the priests of Maharaj Nabi were performing a ritualistic sacrifice. Maharaj Nabi had no children. So from that point of view, there's nothing unusual in his wanting a child, what to speak of his wanting a son. So the priests undertook this yajna for that purpose. But they felt embarrassed because even though the Supreme Personality of Godhead did appear, the priests felt embarrassed that what are we doing disturbing the Lord, bringing him here from Vaikuntha for such a material reason, as the purport says, paltry reason. Paltry means so insignificant. So you might say, well, what's so insignificant about the desire to have a son? Maharaj Nabi and his wife Meru Devi were childless. Why is that? Why is it considered so insignificant, unnecessary, negligible a reason for the priest to perform a yajna? So this is a great instruction as to what is akam bhakti, bhakti without any material desires. And this is a great example for showing the process of the sakam bhakta, the bhakta with material motives, transforming into the akam bhakta, the bhakta with no material desires. Actually, Krishna, in his expansion of an expansion, did not become present at the yajna because of the ritualistic performance. You cannot bring about the presence of the Supreme Lord just by Vedic rituals. There has to be bhakti. So this point is brought out in this chapter, that it's because of the bhakti of Maharaj Nabi. Even though he had a material motive, although you would say the material motive is very exalted, he wanted a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though his material motive was so exalted, it was still material, yet the Supreme Lord appears, not exactly because of the ritualistic yajna, not because of the Vedic ceremony, but because of the bhakti. So don't think that the Lord was compelled to appear because of the yajna. No, Maharaj Nabi was meant to be the father of Rishabhadev, the incarnation of the Lord. But in his humility, he's showing you how to approach the Supreme Lord with no material desires. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya, in Sanatan Siksha, his instructions to Sanatan Goswami, talks about the process of sakam changing into akam. As Krishna admits in Bhagavad Gita, Chatua Vida Bhajante Mam, Jana Sukritino Arjuna, Arto Jigasa Atarti, Jnani Cha Bharatarshaba. 4 kinds of persons with motivations approach the Supreme Lord. And because they are approaching the Supreme Lord, even though their motivation is not completely pure, they are approaching the Supreme Lord, and therefore they are sukriti. They have auspicious merit. And the goal is that by engaging in bhakti yoga, gradually they drop their superfluous motivations and become attracted to the pure execution of devotional service. And how does one make that significant turn from sakam bhakti to akam bhakti, from bhakti with material motivation to bhakti with no material motivation? This is done, the Shastra explains, by association with devotees. By our associating with devotees who have no material motivation in their service, we become attracted to pure bhakti and want to do it ourselves. Otherwise, as the Shastra explains, without contact with a devotee, it's practically impossible to enter the realm of akam bhakti, pure devotional service. So, in explaining to Sanatana Goswami, Madhya Lila chapter 19, if you want to check it, Lord Chaitanya explains Krishna's dealings It's always fascinating to hear how Krishna operates, what his thinking is. Because Krishna is a person. Govindam Adi Purusham Dhammaham Bhajami. A person deliberates, a person has feelings, a person considers and ponders. And Krishna is the Supreme Person. So his considerations, his pondering, his deliberations are supreme. So he says, if someone approaches me with material motivations, I fulfill his desires because they're approaching me. But I fulfill them in a way that such a devotee never asks for that thing again. So the Lord is revealing his transformative process for devotees. Yes, you can approach me for material desires. Indeed, it is stated in the second canto of Bhagavatam, in that famous verse, Akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether you are free from all material desires, or you are full of material desires, or you are longing for liberation from the material world, you just want to escape. This is a subtle point, perhaps. You might say, what's wrong with wanting to get out of the material world? But a real devotee is not concerned about getting out of the material world as much as the devotee is concerned with serving Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. So a real devotee is not excessively averse to the material world, nor is such a devotee attached to the material world. Devotional service becomes the everything, whether in this world or in the spiritual world. Devotional service is the all in all. So the second canto verse, that famous verse, Akama sarva kamo va, moksha kama. If you're lusty for moksha, liberation, that's still not pure bhakti. So, what should you do regardless of what category you're in? Tivrena bhakti yogena. Engage fully in devotional service. That is the means for transformation, the crucial factor. Sometimes we say, oh, I have so many desires, or I just have a few big desires. I just want this, I just want that. Why doesn't Krishna give me this? Why doesn't Krishna give me that? Whatever your situation of material desire, all right, engage in devotional service. Krishna is inviting you. Come on, come on. You're foolish, as Lord Chaitanya explains in his instruction to Sanatana Goswami. Krishna says, you're foolish. You don't know any better. You're like a little kid. Anyway, come on, come on. Engage fully in devotional service. We forget sometimes that part about the full engagement in devotional service. And then we wonder, Krishna, I still have all these desires. What's going on? Bhakti is not ritualistic in terms of just performing external rituals. Bhakti is about engagement fully in devotional service. So the example the acharyas give, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this example, which Prabhupada repeats in the Purport in the 5th canto. Let's say a child, out of ignorance, likes to put dirty things in the mouth. Maybe some of you parents have experience of that. And the child has no knowledge that you're not supposed to put dirty things in your mouth. So what does the parent do? The parent forcibly prevents the child from eating dirt or some dirty thing and gives the child a sweet. And gradually the child realizes, gradually or suddenly, the sweet is the better thing. So this is how Krishna operates with a devotee who fully engages in devotional service and who wants Krishna along with so much material fulfillment, or even just a little, just a pinch of material fulfillment. So Krishna explains, and you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I am not so unintelligent as to give to my devotee again and again what is not good for the devotee. The devotee is foolish. The devotee wants poison instead of ambrosia. The ambrosia is pure devotional service. The poison is material benefit. So the Lord says, I'm very intelligent. I know how to deal with this situation. I will fulfill the material desire in such a way that the devotee will never ask for it again. That makes us wonder. This is the wonder of devotional service. That the process of transforming a sakam bhakta, a devotee with material motivation, to an akam bhakta happens. And it may take some time, but you can help the process along by being aware of it. Whether you are aware of the process or not, it's happening. But if you're not aware, you may drop the process, and because you're impatient. I've been serving Krishna for X amount of years, I still have material motivations. What's the use? I might as well be fully in Maya rather than a little bit in Maya. But if you are aware, if you have knowledge of what's going on, that will help you to stick to the process. Just like if you have no idea that by taking a shower you'll become clean, you may enter the shower and then just prematurely exit. But if you know what the shower is doing, and if you understand what the various dirts, the various contaminations are that are being cleansed, you'll stay in the shower. So Krishna is doing his part, but we have to do ours. Our part is looking constantly for full engagement in his service. According to our ashram status, those ashram statuses bring about different styles, but still the goal is full engagement in Krishna's service. Some or other we have to have that goal firmly in mind and continually strive for it. Because that full engagement in devotional service will transform the sakam bhakta into an akam bhakta. The ultimate goal, of course, is Sri Vrindavan Dham, where everyone is simply concerned with Krishna's comfort and Krishna's pleasure. That's all. You might think the Brijvasis would ponder, we're getting into all this trouble, all these attacks from demons, from Senpai Kamsa, because Krishna's with us. In other words, we're being inconvenienced by the presence of Krishna. Because Krishna's in our village, so many demons are attacking. Just see how we're undergoing inconveniences. We're undergoing terroristic attacks just because Krishna is here. In other words, he's inconveniencing us. Because of his presence, we're being put through it. We're being put through distressing circumstances. They never thought like that. This point is explained by Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The residents of Vrindavan paid no mind, paid no attention to all these calamities, attacks. There were demons attacking. There were devatas, demigods, causing commotion, like Indra, Varuna. They paid no mind to that. They're simply thinking, how can Krishna be happy? How can Krishna be more comfortable? And from his side, Krishna, with his Yogamaya potency, made it so that they would not think of their own pleasures. They would not think of their own distress. They wouldn't think of that. Krishna is reciprocating with their desire for pure bhakti. Of course, the residents of Vrindavan just think we're just attracted to Krishna. They don't think Krishna is God. But Krishna is helping facilitate their pure devotional service with his Yogamaya energy. They don't want to think about anything except Krishna's pleasure, and Krishna helps them. How does he help them? You see, by Krishna's Yogamaya energy, he's actually preventing them from thinking about their own distress. At the same time, he always saves them from all distresses. So it's not that Krishna is heartless, that, by his energies, he prevents them from seeing the realities of the distress they're undergoing. He does that, but he also saves them from the distress. So you have to see both sides. But they're not meditating on Krishna bringing distress or how they are undergoing distress because of Krishna. They're simply thinking of Krishna's comfort and happiness. That's all. Now, you might say, well, isn't it so? In your reading of Krishna book, you might say, sometimes the Brijbasis are saying, Krishna, save us, save us, save us. Isn't that thinking of their own skin, saving their own skin? Save us, Krishna, from distress. Aren't they treating Krishna as their order supplier? No. Even when they cry out like that, Krishna, save us, they're thinking, Krishna, you need us for your service. It's not good for us to die because who will serve you? Save us means save your service that we're rendering to you. So this is life in Vrindavan Dham. But how to get there? We were explaining on Gaura Purnima the transformative process of how servitude to Lord Chaitanya transforms into Radha Krishna Seva. The more we are familiar with the process of bhakti, the more we can do our little part to help it along. This is why knowledge is important. When you understand how Krishna operates, when you understand what are the dynamics in Vrindavan, the topmost portion of the spiritual world, then you can help the process along. We have to do our little part. So you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita the thinking of Krishna. I'm very intelligent. I know how to handle devotees with material desires. Yes, let them come. In one purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada explains that this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to attract all types of persons, whether free from material desires or full of material desires. It's meant to attract all, not just the pure devotees or those devotees who are serious and want to be pure they're serious from the very beginning. No, we're meant to attract all types with all kinds of motivations, but the transformative process depends on contact with serious devotees. In other words, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant to provide contact with sincere devotees. And those sincere devotees cause the transformation to happen in those who they deal with, those who they guide, those they some or other associate with. So this is Lord Chaitanya's point, and the same point is made in Srimad Bhagavatam. Contact with devotees striving to serve Krishna purely affects others. So Krishna says that he'll handle your material desires in such a way that they'll be fulfilled, but you won't ask for those things again. This is always causing us to reflect. Wait a minute now. Yeah, I like the part about he fulfills my desires. Sometimes devotees in their casual dealings with one another will say about something that happened to a devotee, such a devotee will say, Krishna fulfills all desires. I was hungry, I was walking past the kitchen and someone came out with some prasada, food that had been offered, and it happened to be pizza. Krishna fulfills all desires. But when some distress happens to us, Krishna, why is this happening to me? Why are you letting this happen to me? We're quick to praise Krishna when we get what we think we want. And when we don't get what we think we want, or something happens to us that we don't want, then we blame Krishna. But we don't vocalize that so much because it's not considered appropriate. But in our heart, we maintain a grudge. Krishna, why did you let this happen to me? I served you so seriously for 2 whole years, and then look what happened to me. Or even, I served you all my life, and look, I'm dying. So we can unconsciously hold grudges against Krishna, these grudges form lumps of stone in the heart and prevent us from calling out to Krishna with purity and helpless dependency when we chant Krishna's holy name. So again, Krishna says, I'm very intelligent, and such a devotee is very foolish, serving me for material motivation. The example of Dhruva Maharaj is the classic. You know what Dhruva Maharaj wanted? A kingdom bigger than anyone in his family line. That meant a kingdom bigger than even Lord Brahma's, because Lord Brahma is in Dhruva's family line. And so you know the history. Lord Chaitanya would often hear 2 Bhagavatam histories, Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. So it's not that Lord Chaitanya was simply hearing verses from the intimate Madhurya Shastras. Again and again he would hear about Dhruva. Again and again he would hear about Prahlad. So Dhruva got what he wanted, but then he lamented. He said, Swamin katatasmi varam nayache. I'm seeing you, my Lord. I've attained the darshan. All because I was longing for a piece of broken glass. Now I have the greatest jewel. I have your association. Why did I have such a material motivation? So you might say, well, Dhruva got what he wanted. He got the kingdom. Ki jai. But Dhruva's lamenting. What a fool I was. And so he asked for a real benediction, not the broken piece of glass, the kingdom greater than anyone ever had. He asked for the association of pure devotees. Because as we pointed out, as the Shastra says, association with pure devotees sparks the transformation. Sometimes devotees ask, well, who is a pure devotee? In one purport, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada explains that, in other words, a pure devotee, there are different levels of intensity. Beginning with, he says, anyone who thinks, even if that person is a neophyte, anyone who thinks Krishna is the same as his name is a pure devotee. So, ooh, that sounds quite liberal. But think about it. To have that understanding, to act on that understanding that Krishna is the same as his name, that is extraordinary, even though you're a neophyte. So in other words, there is a broad range, a broad spectrum of what it means to be a pure devotee. But if you associate with someone, even though that person may be a neophyte, but they are convinced Krishna is the same as his name, that person's a pure devotee. Sometimes when devotees recite the 10 offenses and they mention the one about offending a pure devotee of the Lord, so they think, well, that I don't do that, but I can rough up the devotees around me because they're not pure devotees. I can offend them, I can be nasty with them, but I'm very careful around the pure devotee. But in speaking about those offenses, Srila Prabhupada once explained that anyone who is trying their best to spread the glories of the Lord all over the world, that is a pure devotee. And we should be very careful about making offenses. Because then, because of offenses, the process of changing from sakam to akam will be jeopardized, will be impeded. So remember the example of a child habituated to putting dirty things in the mouth. And so the parent, the merciful parent, who knows better, stops the child from doing that by offering the child a sweet. So Krishna reveals through his declaration of thinking process that I'm very intelligent in handling my devotees. I know how to transform their material desires into purity. I will fulfill their material desires. But I'll do it in such a way that they'll get over it. They won't ask for such a thing again. I'll give them shelter at my lotus feet forcibly. You can just think of a parent yanking the child's hand away from the mouth because the child is trying to put dirt in the mouth. Yanking the child's hand away, and at the same time, with the other hand, popping a sweet in the child's mouth. Sometimes we become afraid of Hari. We only think about a partial meaning of Hari. He who takes everything away. That's not exactly the meaning of Hari. He takes away all impediments to pure bhakti and rewards you with ecstatic love for him. You know the verse from 10th canto, Yasyaham Nigranami Harisye Tad Dhanam Shanai. Krishna says, when I see an especially sincere devotee who has some lingering material attachments, I show that especially sincere devotee special mercy by taking away all the material impediments. So that might make you very fearful. I'm not ready for Krishna as Hari to take anything away from me. But we forget the other half. Taking away, yes, but rewarding you with ecstatic love. Taking away the impediments to pure bhakti. Now, if you're not trying to be sincere, you don't have to worry, because Krishna says, I do this for special sincere devotees. So you can exempt yourself if you so desire. So even though such a devotee, a Sakam Bhakta, is not asking for pure devotional service, because the Sakam Bhakta, the devotee with material motivations, is engaging in devotional service fully, the transformative process acts. So this is a point emphasized by Krishna. You don't ask for pure bhakti, but you are engaging in full devotional service, so I'm going to give it to you. Especially those who are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So let's go back to Maharaj Nabi. He wanted a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is, although it sounds very exalted, it's still a material motivation. And the priests are lamenting in this verse. The priests of the yajna. Our only aim in this yajna was to bring about a son. So our intelligence is not very good. We're not experienced in understanding what the real goal of life is. We have invited you, we have disturbed you to make your presence at this yajna for such an insignificant, tiny reason, a material motivation. Therefore, we've committed a great offense at your lotus feet. Please excuse our offense because of your causeless mercy and equanimity, your equal mind. So in the purport, Prabhupada points out, the Lord is engaged in various activities, and the pure devotee does not want to see him whimsically for his own sense gratification. The pure devotee simply depends on the Lord's mercy, and when the Lord is pleased, he, the pure devotee, can see him face to face. So this is a very high understanding. Don't be fooled. It's expressed in simple language, but it is extraordinarily high. Because you would think everyone wants to see Krishna. Krishna, when can I see you? I really want to see you. But the real devotee thinks, where's the service? I may see you, I may not see you. Where is the service to you? This is the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the glory of Srila Prabhupada's presentation. He's presenting the most astounding heights of bhakti realization in such simple, straightforward language. The pure devotee simply depends on the Lord's mercy, and when the Lord is pleased, such a devotee can see him face to face. So you would think, well, look, I've given up my material desires. Now all I want is to see Krishna. But now we are informed that a real devotee is simply wanting to see service. And then when Krishna wants to make himself visible to me, he will. So we are so fortunate to be able to be educated in this way. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhaktivedanta purports are giving us contact with pure devotion. We're starting to understand. And this is the gateway to Braj, because the residents of Braj, the Brijvasis, simply think of Krishna's contentment, Krishna's pleasure. That's all. They don't think of their own comfort. They simply are thinking, how can Krishna be happy? Never mind the demons that are attacking, never mind the devatas, the demigods like Indra and Varuna causing commotion. Never mind all that. How is Krishna being pleased? How is Krishna being content? Even when they complain about Krishna's childhood mischief, they're actually happy talking about Krishna. The older gopis in the village, they go to Mother Yashoda and complain, your child is causing havoc in our house. When he doesn't find any butter or milk products to steal, he'll pass stool in our worship area of the house. He'll pinch the babies and make them cry. So it seems like they're complaining, but actually they're relishing talking about Krishna, reporting Krishna's activities to Mother Yashoda. They're actually thinking, Mother Yashoda, you're busy in your home. You don't see all that your son is doing. You're missing out, but we're going to tell you. In this way, they have a Krishna Katha session. In the guise of complaints, we're going to help you by telling you what your son is doing on the other side of the village, because you don't see it, but we're here to tell you. And so they're all complaining. They're all lodging these complaints. And then Mother Yashoda looks at Krishna, you did all this? You're doing all that mischief? And Krishna just smiles innocently, and everyone forgets their complaints. So this knowledge of the transformative process of a Sakam Bhakta into an Akam Bhakta is very important. Because you may be thinking, and you should be thinking, what is Krishna going to do with me? What part are you going to play in Krishna's transformative process? Full devotional service is the goal. Otherwise, how can such a massive transformation happen? The engine room of transformation in bhakti is full engagement in devotional service. That may look differently according to the various ashrams. Just like for householders, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, with his 10 or 11 or 12 children, sets the ultimate standard. Shuddha Bhakata Charanarenu Bhajana Anukula. He describes in that song how he's doing arti in his home, not in a temple, but in his home, in the temple room of his home. And he sees his whole house transform into Goloka Vrindavan. So he's showing you the peak potential of that ashram. So whatever ashram you're in, we must remember the goal is full engagement in devotional service. Everything for Krishna. That happens in different ways according to different ashrams, but still the goal is the same. And the goal is nourished and empowered by dedication to the holy name. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Grihe tako, vane tako, sada hari boli tako. Whether you're in this ashram or that ashram, chant Hare Krishna. Because when we chant Hare Krishna, we're asking Krishna in the most legitimate, bona fide way, please engage me in your service. All right, any questions? Yes.
If a devotee does have a desire to see Krishna, is that something that they should want to be purified of, or is that something that should be prayed to be removed?
He's asking if a devotee has a desire to see Krishna. In other words, is that a problem? Is that something that should be erased? Well, let's say there are a lot worse desires you could have. But again, we should be aware of the pure devotional standard and make progress toward that. If you have a desire to see service, that is a desire to see Krishna. In other words, Krishna's coming to you as devotional service. He's coming to you as his name. He's coming to you as Srimad Bhagavatam. So often we say, I want to see Krishna, but we don't understand you have Krishna right now. Hearing Krishna is the same as seeing, but we kind of discount the hearing process and say, I want to see with the eyes. As I often explain, that's the nature of Kali Yuga. Everyone says, seeing is believing. I really want to see. But who says, I really want to hear? Hearing is believing. Hearing is experiencing. So as the Acharyas point out, we have 5 senses. Why do we put so much emphasis on the eyes? What about the other senses? But this is the nature of Kali Yuga, that people downplay or minimize their ears and their tongue and put all the emphasis on the eyes. So why don't you think, for example, instead of I really want to see Krishna, I really want to hear Krishna. By hearing Krishna, everything is there. Atat Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhave Grayam Indre. By devotional service that begins with the tongue, Sevan Mukhi Jivadao, everything becomes revealed. First the name, then form, qualities, and pastimes. So you want to see Krishna, engage in his service, which begins with the tongue, chanting. So yes, we should think seriously and deeply about this point. The pure devotee simply depends on the Lord's mercy, and when the Lord is pleased, such a devotee can see him face to face. So the priests at Nabi's yajna were embarrassed. They're saying, we did this yajna bringing about the appearance of the Supreme Lord, but they know the Supreme Lord didn't appear just because of the ritual. He appeared because there was Bhakti. So they said, our intelligence isn't very sharp. We're not experienced. We're bothering you. As the Purport says, by calling on the Supreme Lord, the priests of Nabi Maharaja proved themselves unintelligent. Nonetheless, the Lord came out of his causeless mercy, in spite of the material desire. All of them, therefore, wanted to be excused by the Lord. Not only did the Lord come out of his causeless mercy, but he said, all right, Nabi wants a son like me, but there's no one equal to me and no one greater than me. So I'll come as his son. So even though Nabi evidenced such a material desire, although very great material desire, very grand and elevated, still the Supreme Lord appeared out of his own causeless mercy. No, he was not forced to, he just did it out of mercy and gave Nabi a son who is Rishabhadeva, the incarnation of Godhead. So you can see the outpouring of the causeless mercy in this chapter. The priests are embarrassed. They're lamenting, just like Dhruva Maharaj lamented. Dhruva Maharaj's lamentation is difficult for us to understand. He got the kingdom. Narada Muni did it for him. Narada Muni gave him the process by which Dhruva would see the Supreme Lord face to face, so that Dhruva could ask for the benediction of getting the greatest kingdom than anyone in his dynasty. So you would think Dhruva had both things. He has the kingdom, he's got the darshan. Wow, leave it at that. It doesn't get any better than that. But Dhruva is lamenting. So you can study this lamentation of Dhruva Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada advises in the Purport, you don't want to be in a situation in which you have to lament like that. But what do we say? Sure, I'll be lamentation, no problem. Give me the material fulfillment. And give me Krishna too. So we think that Dhruva's got it all. He's got the material fulfillment. He's got darshan of Lord Prishni Garbha. Okay. Doesn't get any better than that. But Dhruva is lamenting, sincerely, utterly, fully lamenting. Swamin katatasmi varam neyache. I'm seeing you, my Lord. I don't need anything else. Just give me the association of pure devotees. That's my only request. Anything else? Yes.
The individual focus on going back to Godhead hinder our endeavor to preach in this world?
Preaching is back to Godhead. You don't know that? By continuing to serve Lord Chaitanya, you'll become aware beyond theory. Otherwise, why does Mahaprabhu say, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare, Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Tvai? Birth after birth, I don't mind, as long as I have service to you. The service is back to Godhead. Oh. And that service can take many shapes and forms. Service doesn't simply mean your name is on a roster. Service also means your name can be on Srimati Radharani's roster. The full spectrum of devotional service is what Lord Chaitanya is giving, with special emphasis on the highest services in Goloka Vrindavan. So when you have that service, doesn't matter where you are. Devotional service is the destination which transforms your location. You understand? So we take devotional service so seriously because it is the spiritual world. And that's why Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmani Isre, Janmani Janmani, birth after birth, I don't mind, as long as I have service to the lotus feet. And that service can extend all the way to the most exalted seva. Yes, Sachi Sutta Prabhu.
We might not have a kingdom, but
Therefore, what the Vedas say, in a real human civilization, pancha swordvam vanam vraje. When you're 50 and beyond, head for the forest. Retire from family life. That's in an ideal civilization, which we don't have. But at least we should have that spirit that in the latter phase of our life, we should decrease our situation, our material situation. That takes planning. How to do that? During the Vedic times, the kings would maintain forests for vanaprastha couples to retire to. That's why vanaprastha, to the forest. But where are such forests these days? Where are you going to go to? What's that park in the CBD of Auckland? What's that called? What is it? Albert Park. Okay. Take your wife there, pitch a tent. But in a real human civilization, the government would maintain forests for vanaprastha couples to live in. Does that answer your question? Anything else? Yes.
Gurmaharaj, you were mentioning that on the journey from Kama to Sakama.
Sakama to Akama. We don't want to go the other way.
That there can be impediments if there's offenses,
Mm.
and that can hinder that transformation. So if there is hindrance, then how does a devotee overcome that, or do you just have to wait for Krishna to allow?
Is there what? The second part?
What does that devotee do if they've been impeded? Do they have to?
What does the devotee do if?
If they've been impeded because of offenses.
You beg forgiveness from the person you've offended. Render them some service. Could be your own family member. Could be your own husband. Believe it or not. You ask for forgiveness. Familiarity breeds contempt, so often we mistreat those who are close to us, who are around us all the time. So we all need to remember, whether it's our ashram mates or our family members, they're devotees of Krishna. Manobiram, you had a question?
Thanks for the class again. I was wanting to know whether it's possible to transcend our physical and psychological limitations and continually increase our service. Are we limited by our body and mind?
You can utilize your conditioning in Krishna's service, your particular nature, your particular skills, your particular tendencies. But it doesn't mean that bhakti is always restricted to whatever your conditioning is. So there are two things. You can utilize your conditioning in Krishna's service. That's what the Varnashram system does. And you can, in the higher stages of bhakti, be in such a way that your conditioning is not curtailed. Your bhakti is not curtailed by physical, mental characteristics. That's why, what does Rupa Goswami say? Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadi navratam. Pure devotional service is not impeded by any material consideration. So there are two things. engaging our material propensities in Krishna's service. Some persons have a musical ability, some don't. But you can hear the chanting, kirtan, done by someone who has no musical ability, can't sing on key, has no sense of rhythm, but Krishna is there in their pure chanting. Still, though, someone who has musical ability should use that ability in Krishna's service. At the same time, the purity of the kirtan does not depend on musical skill. Yes.
You were mentioning that to be connected to outreach activities is the ultimate way to get Gauranga's mercy. I was wondering, there are some countries around the world which are very repressed, and it may be almost seemingly impossible to be engaged in outreach activities. So I was wondering, how do they get Gauranga's mercy?
He's asking, did everyone hear? That he says, I said that by engaging in outreach, you're getting Gauranga's mercy. You're doing Dasya Seva for Mahaprabhu, which leads to the rasas of serving Krishna. So what about, he says, there are countries in the world in which you can't, there's repression, government repression, you can't just go out and tell everyone about Krishna. But there's always a little something you can do. Krishna understands circumstances, you know. You do the best you can in the circumstances, as such devotees do in such countries. Often you could say Krishna appreciates their endeavors even more because they're taking a risk in such circumstances. There's always a little something you can do. I find this attitude becomes too much prevalent, that because of my circumstances, I can't do this in bhakti. Therefore, forget it. Do a little. Krishna knows your circumstances. Krishna's in your heart. He knows what you're going through. He knows your circumstances. But we tend to shut down. Oh, look at my circumstances. I can't do this, I can't do that. Case closed, that's it. Nothing is possible. There's always something you can do if you have the mindset to look for it. So I find this attitude to be too prevalent. Devotees in various situations, that's it, you just can't do anything. Why has Krishna put me in this situation? Can't do anything. Is pure devotional service, which we're striving for, means no material impediment to your service. Now, how that can happen requires some deep desire and deep prayer, contemplation. What do you mean, no impediment? Look at my situation. I'm in China. What can I do? I'm forced into the military. What can I do? So first have the desire to see in your situation, no matter how repressive or constricting it can be, have the desire to see the service opportunities, and Krishna will reveal it to you. I'm thinking of one lady in the USA. She was an auto factory worker. And she became a devotee because another devotee working in the auto factory, car factory, had put the walls of the car factory were very greasy and dirty. And so this devotee got a ladder, climbed up on the ladder, and wrote in big letters, Krishna, on the grease on the wall of the factory. And the shop supervisor, the foreman, what do you call them? You don't have manufacturing in New Zealand, so you don't know this. I think it's called a foreman. He was angry. What's this? In big letters on the wall of the factory. What is this Krishna? But he couldn't get it off the wall. Because to get it off the wall, they'd have to clean the whole wall. So there was Krishna in big letters on the greasy wall of the factory. So the foreman didn't know what to do. But one lady devotee there, she wasn't a devotee at that time, she's just a worker, saw, what is this Krishna? What is this all about? And some of the factory workers told her, well, there's this guy, and he's a Hare Krishna. So she found him out. They worked on opposite shifts. He worked the night shift, she worked the day shift. So they would pass each other as the shifts were changing. So that's how she met him. So she was very, how do we say? What's the word? Proactive. She was unmarried. And so one day as she's walking by him, because they had made us an acquaintance, because she wanted to know who put that word Krishna in big letters on the greasy wall of the factory. So they knew of each other, but they always would pass each other by. He would finish the night shift, be leaving. She would start the day shift, be entering. And then one day she figured she'll drop him a line. So as she's walking by him, instead of saying, hello, how are you doing? She said, hi, husband, how are you? He said, husband? I didn't see you last night. And they struck up a relationship and are married ever since. Both nice devotees. Krishna fulfills all desires. All because someone wrote in big letters on the greasy wall of the factory, Krishna. So that devotee could have been thinking, there's nothing I can do in this factory to serve Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. There's nothing what can I do? I'm just a factory worker working a shift. The graveyard shift, it's called, night shift. They call it that. You don't have these terms in New Zealand because you don't have any factories here, basically. But the night shift is called the graveyard shift. I'm working the graveyard shift. What can I do? Can't do anything. I'll get a ladder and in big letters in the grease, write Krishna. Someone saw it. Everyone saw it. They didn't know what to do. The foreman was angry. But as I said, in order to get rid of the name Krishna, he had to clean the whole wall of the factory, and he wasn't about to do that. But this lady saw it. One out of thousands of workers. Who did this? What is this Krishna? So what if that factory worker, the man, was thinking, there's nothing I can do. It's pointless. I'm just a factory worker. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.